for statements that brother you move if he be singing. Mariah Carey's, Halle Berry's in the industry. They role play like real safe, I ain't kidding, G. Blind Muppets and puppets, what they do is disgusting. Freedom of speech, sweep the devil off his feet and retreat to the holy place in Christ. You can find me.
It's interesting because, see, music is one of those things that you don't actually need to have. It doesn't need permission to attach itself to your soul. Music doesn't need permission to attach itself to your soul. Like, let's just say, for instance, yeah, there's a group of boys, yeah, that are going to ride out on, a rival gang, let's just say, yeah? And let's just say they've got drill music playing in the car. They're all gonna be on gas mode. They're all gonna be ready to do what they need to do. But let's just say someone put in the wrong CD, yeah? They're going to ride out. And let's just say, for example, gospel rap, or maybe, let's just say worship began to play in the car. And the people that were in the car had an element of God exposed to them once upon a time in their life. Everyone that is in that car is going to question whether or not they should ride out. And I'm saying that to basically say music is spiritual. Music is spiritual. So we can't walk on eggshells behaving as if music doesn't impact and influence the way in which we lead our lives. Music veered me towards selling drugs. Music veered me towards living a worldly life, which almost got me killed. So I'm saying that to basically say the youngsters that we're seeing today, they are essentially being led to do what they do majorly because of the music they listen to, the things that they're allowing into their ear gates, their eye gates, and the rest of it. So exposure is a massive thing. Music, people like music, because, who doesn't like music? People like music, man. So music can lead a culture, it can shape a generation. So I think music is definitely a massive part in the way in which, we do life, man. 100%. If I was, just repeat your question just so I'm getting you. You're saying, if I was mentoring someone in my position, what would I say to them? I think if I was guiding a young person in a similar situation, I think it's easy to sort of say, do this, don't do that, do this, don't do that. And that approach, truth be told, never really works. And I think what's more effective and what's more powerful is to be able to walk alongside a particular person, irrespective of the decisions they make. Do you see what I'm saying? So not being quick to sort of slam the hammer at them and say, why did you do this? Why don't you do that? Nobody asked you anything. So keep your opinions to yourself. You see, but out of relationship, out of communication, that person can then get to a stage where they're like, you know what? This is what I actually plan on doing. I don't know, what are your thoughts? And it's more inviting as opposed to playing holier than thou. This is what you should be doing. I'm a Christian and, this is how we live. It's just off-putting. Do you see what I'm saying? And just by your lifestyle alone, if you're building a relationship with someone, I just feel like naturally, when that vibe is there and you connect, you're going to be having conversation, right? And that's what connects you. So that person is going to be able to actually see, by example, the way in which you live, but then also hear the words of wisdom in which you need to share regarding certain things they may want to engage in. So I think it's to definitely play a position whereby I'm walking alongside that person, and where opportunity presents itself, just shining some light on my perspective and, how as a believer I would essentially approach a matter. That would be my approach. And if I'm being specific, my situation was dynamic. So I think depending on what opportunities presented itself will determine how I would go about giving words of wisdom or just being a listening ear. Because you got to have discernment and wisdom in knowing when to share, how to share, if to share. Yeah. I think, even looking back, I remember sitting in my cell and just really pondering on where life was going, because prison is one of those places whereby you're left to your imagination, you're left to your thoughts, you're left to your reality, and then you have to really face the man in the mirror. There's no hiding now. Who you are becomes apparent in prison, and you have to really decide, like, okay, cool, well, what is it that I'm trying to do when I'm released from these four walls? of imprisonment. Why do I do things in this way? Why do I think in this way? When you start reading certain books, it opens you up. You know, you basically, when in prison, you go on a quest of finding self. And for many people, they find faith, you know, amid trying to find themselves. People go on a journey of discovery. Many people, many people. Certain people are just on badness. But truth be told, even those people at times are, you know, trying to find themselves and are on a road to discovery of, you know, sometimes it's not always the case, isn't it? Because some people have different situations. But even for those that are having fights in jail, constantly in block, when you're in block, there's no TV, the mattress gets taken at like 7 a.m. So, you get me? You know, it's just probably a book you have. You're up. You can't sleep. You're up, you know. So you're left to your thoughts. You may be talking to people in the next cell or from landing to landing. But the point is, there'll be a point where you stop talking. There'll be a point where there's no TV. There'll be a point where, do you know what I mean? So there's so many pockets to really reflect on who you are, where you are, and where life is going. So I'm saying all of that to say, at that point of discovery, you ask the more important questions about life. But yeah, when I think about the timeline, I just find it interesting how God had a plan for it all. I feel as if like I needed to pass through those challenges, you know. But God is amazing because, you know, life in Christ is like a Waze GPS. He can redirect you. Do you see where I'm coming from? Irrespective of the wrong turns in which you may have taken, he can redirect you and place you back on that righteous path, back on that narrow path to, you know what I mean, to paradise. So I feel like definitely there are things you miss and lose because you decide to go on the wayward road. Definitely, like, let's not dispute that. But we serve a God that restores. Do you see what I'm trying to say? And, you know, Romans 8:28 says, all things work together for the good of those that love God and those that are called according to his purpose. So once I give my life to Christ and I'm in him, I truly do believe that everything in which he has fashioned, you know, for my life shall surely come to pass. And even when it seems as if things are going wrong, I know that is working out for my good and for his glory. You know what I mean? So I just find it interesting how he patterned things the way he did and how my life could really transform the way it has for his glory. And it's still a journey. I'm still on the journey. I still have things in which I want to accomplish. But yeah, no, like I really feel like it's just amazing, man. It's just amazing how God does what he does, man. You know, so yeah, man. So in regards to what I was doing in regards to sort of guiding young people, the main reason why I wanted to even get myself in such work was I said to myself, like, I wonder how many other young G's are out there at the crossroads of life where they're faced with, should I hop on a drug thing? Should I start moving food? Should I start doing these C's? Should I start doing this? Should I start doing that? As opposed to actually, I don't need to lead a life of, you know, living a life of illegitimate deeds and money, right? There's legitimate ways that I can make money. Do you see? And I feel like at times there's not enough exposure of that. We just constantly see black kids done this stabbing, done this, done that. And I think the more exposure we see of young, and I mean, I point out black kids because they're mostly the ones we see on the news, right? Regarding gang violence. And I guess it's where I've come from. So I think because we don't see enough exposure of young black guys that are killing it legitimately, for the young ones coming up, they feel like, if I can't rap, if I can't run, if I can't play football, if I can't do basketball, if I can't sing, if I can't dance, then there's nothing for me, which is a lie. There's other ways, and there's other young black guys that are killing it in other ways. You see what I'm saying? And thank God for the internet, because we can see that from just social media. There are other people killing it in various industries, you know. So exposure is one thing, but then also locally, like, who do you have around you? Who are your local superheroes that you can look to and say, like, oh, I want to be like my man when I grow up? Do you see what I'm saying? Because we had that, and they were all the wrong examples. Do you know what I mean? So I think for me, I was just like, how many other young G's or young Leslies are out there that are faced with these questions and are faced with these challenges that I'm faced with because of X, Y, and Z. So I wonder if I had someone like me in my life at this age, I wonder if I would have even have gone to prison. So I wonder if I would have even have gone to prison. So yeah, man, I just felt like I wanted to be that pillar. I wanted to be that role model, that example that they can come to, lean to, speak to, hear from, and be heard by, to, essentially be able to steer them in the right direction. And thank God, man. I mean, I enjoy the work that I did with the young people. There are many that I still keep in touch with today. Some have gone on to be professional footballers. Some have gone on to finish uni. Some have gone on to be bankers. Like, you name it, the list goes on, man. I've been able to brush shoulders with hundreds and hundreds of, young people that are doing amazing things now. Some are still finding themselves and are still on their journey. Some are in and out of prison, and it's a lifestyle that they're still engrossed in. But we believe that everything that we've done, all the seeds we've sown, will definitely germinate. And there was one particular young person that we were, that I was sort of speaking to, and, I don't really like the term mentoring, but I guess, a young person that I had an influence on his life, and he's gone on to play professional football, and he's in the Lord, and he's very open about it on his social media, and it's really encouraging to see, so yeah, man, I think God places us in strategic places in order for us to shine our light and to be, to essentially proclaim his name and to just lead by example, bro. Sometimes it's not what you say, it's just how you lead your life. And I think that's the biggest kind of preaching you could ever do, man. So I'll be real with you, man. Like, when I was making that transition, I cut out secular music because it was not good for me. So I made that hard cut of just all of that music gone. And I struggled to get into gospel music, but I was looking for like music that was similar to the music I was listening to. So I found Jahazel. He was someone that I was thumping. Came across Governor B, came across Dwayne Triumph, and I was like, yeah, man, this is the kind of music I like. It's the same vibe, but it's got that holy aspect to it. So that was amazing. And then prior to that, I found it hard because it's like, I wanted to use my gift to glorify God, but then I was like, nah, this is corny though. How am I chatting about God like this? Like, it just used to make me cringe. But I guess that was a spiritual work that God needed to do in me. So I remember I used to sit in my room at the time trying to rap the Psalms, literally trying to rap the Psalms, reading the Bible, but trying to rap it. And I was like, nah, this is love, what I'm doing. And I kind of let that go. And then I stumbled across people like Jahazel, Governor, Triumph, and a few others as well. And I was just like, okay, cool, man. Well, this is something I wanna do to the glory of God. Like, if these brothers are able to eloquently, glorify the King like this, I'm sure I can do something half decent. Do you get me? So I decided, like, yeah, man, definitely. Who was it? Sorry, not Governor. Jahazel was someone. The Jahazel mainly was someone that I vibes with. Like, he's someone that I used to really listen to because I had an opportunity to meet him, and yeah, man, I just appreciated, where he was at in the faith at the time. And even Triumph as well. Triumph was someone that was like, Triumph was someone that used to blaze his music. Like, there was, I think his 7-7 album, that got rinsed. That one there got rinsed. Oh, mate, it got rinsed. Like, I had unbelievers stepping into my car, too many bangers, like everything from the start to the end. Unbelievers will hop on my car like, bro, who's this? Do you get where I'm coming from? And when it's able to have that kind of impact, it's doing something. And I really do feel like gospel music is timeless, bro. And this is what I'm saying. Music is spiritual. Like, gospel music is timeless, but music, generally speaking, is spiritual. So regarding gospel rap, from then I was like, cool, well, I can do this. Like, and I had an opportunity to meet Dwayne Triumph, actually. I met him early on in my faith, where I was called to a BBC event at All Saints Church. and I was able to share my story, a piece of my story at that time. And I was sharing some music as well. I could probably send you some of that footage, but I was sharing some music as well. And Dwayne happened to be there. And from there, me and Dwayne started to kick it. And then later on, we ended up doing some music together as well. So he was someone I met early on in the faith of my Christian walk. Yeah, man. Yeah. So once I started doing it, it just became, because it started off doing poetry. And then, because I just genuinely felt like it was corny. So I started off doing poetry. And then I was like, no, I can just put this into a rhyme. So I just started rapping. Because remember, I started off doing grime. So then I started rapping. I was rapping prior to that because that's the music I was doing in the world. So I was rapping prior to that. But it's almost as if God took the music that was in me previously, and that gap was like me having a clean slate to do music again, because he flushed everything out of me that wasn't of him. And then now when I began again, it's like, okay, cool, well, this is a new thing. You know what I mean? So I didn't connotate the new with the old. It was a new person. Leslie Sky is the name. Leslie Sky, S-K-Y-E as in Sky. I've put out Prodigal Son EP1. That's actually under the name Sky, S-K-Y-E. But if you put in Prodigal Son EP1 on iTunes or Spotify, definitely be there. Prodigal Son EP2 I've done as well, featuring the likes of Triumph, Soros, Reblar, D-Witness, and many others. And then I recently put out my latest EP project called Lost and Found, which we spoke about at the start of the call. At some point of this call, depending on where you hear this. But yeah, Lost and Found as well is something you can find on my catalogue of work. So yeah, man, I think my music is to touch, is to bless, and is for people to hear a fresh perspective of faith and walking with God and what that entails. And the truth is, irrespective of where one is at in their lives, we will all meet our maker one day, you know what I mean? So it's either you're faced with the reality of eternity on this side of eternity, or you're faced with it on the other side, which by then it's too late. You know what I mean? So I think for me, I don't try and Bible bash, because I know how I used to take that. And I think music is a nice, subtle way to give someone a message to say, hey, here's this. What do you think? Have a listen. And it will just do what it needs to do, man. I'm definitely loving what I'm seeing, man. It's beautiful, so beautiful. Like, it's great to hear and see that it's growing, you know. Definitely in the UK, I feel like gospel rap in general, gospel music in general, has always had its pillar. It's always had its place within the music industry, so to speak. But I'm loving what I'm seeing in the gospel rap industry, or the gospel rap scene, because I've been in various parts of Africa, but I've been able to hear certain UK rappers that certain Africans are listening to. I'm like, rah, you know this person? I'm like, rah, like this person's music has reached here. And I've got some people with work and stuff, clients from Australia, and they're listening to like guys from the UK. I'm like, rah, like this music has reached here. Like, I'm like, whoa, okay. This is big. This is big stuff. Like literally today, like had someone say that they're listening to, a gospel artist, and I'm like, because they didn't know I had a track with them, and I was like, right, how do you know this person? And I'm like, oh, well, I've done some music with them. And they're like, wow, like I listened to this person. I'm like, really? So it's just very interesting how it's blossoming, man. For sure, man. So there is definitely a lot more music that I expect to bring out in 2024. I'm quite meticulous in how I'd like to deliver my music and how I'd like to deliver my art. So yeah, man, I do really plan on having consistency this year, and some of the things in which I'll be doing is speaking about the realities of, for instance, not having a father figure and the implications of that, and just drawing from real life experiences and, bringing that into my music and culminating that, intertwining that with my faith and just, translating that and projecting that and just sharing that in its authenticity to the listeners, all around, really worldwide. So I do have a project in which I plan on releasing, at some point this year, I have 2 major projects that I'm working on. One's called the Fatherhood EP, and then another's called The Last Generation. And that's like a drill, breezy kind of revelation type of EP, talking about the end times, the last days, and just getting a bag of UK Christian rap guys, US rap guys on there. And yeah, man, just talking about the last days, end times. So if you've heard Prodigal Son EP 2, it's that kind of vibe. And it's just really warning people of the times to come, man. Because the time is running short, man. Time is going, man. We need to get under the canopy properly. You know what I mean? Be like the 5 wise virgins and not the foolish ones. I think being in Christ is good, but being in Christ, you need to make sure you're in Him properly, man. You know what I mean? So that's what I was saying. We need to be like the wise virgins, man, and ensure that we're on fire for the Lord, so that when He appears, we won't look away in shame. We can actually meet Him. Yes, bro, that's a beautiful question, man. I feel like, yeah, that's a beautiful question. I think I shared this with you earlier on, and I think it's serving and not knowing how that seed is gonna blossom. Because truth is, your job is to just sow and water, and however the harvest will turn out is completely up to God, right? So I think it's just the beauty in sowing, watering, and just believing that God is going to do something great. I think that's just something that is amazing. And at times you will get the odd message here and there, which may encourage you to continue doing what you're doing. But just knowing that the sowing and the watering is your job and the harvesting is completely up to God, right? So just knowing that the work in which we're doing, we don't know the impact of it. And truth be told, we may never really know until we meet our Maker. So it's to just continue in doing good, just continue doing good, continue sowing seeds, continue watering others. Because the Bible says that those that refresh will be refreshed. Do you know what I mean? So it's just to continue doing good. Don't get weary in doing good. And just trust that God is going to work it out for your good and for His glory. Yeah. So I think that's the beauty about serving God. It's the fact that you don't know how the harvest is going to turn out. You don't know what the fruits may turn out to be, but you trust that of which He has called you to do, you do faithfully, you do well, and trust that He will essentially multiply that of which He's began. For sure. Thank you, my brother Mark. Appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me on here.